welcome to the CABEF Youth Energy webinar. We're going to be starting shortly. We're just allowing sometimes for the attendees to be able to join us, and we will be starting with the discussion shortly. We have a number of panelists with brilliant careers in the sector of energy that are joining us and are going to be sharing their experiences, their challenges, and what they have learned from this very interesting and very critical industry in Africa in general, particularly in Central Africa. And we will be starting shortly, as I was saying, just allowing sometimes for the attendees to be able to make their way to us. So welcome, get comfortable, and we'll start with the discussion soon. Je vois qu'il y a déjà un nombre critique de participants qui nous a rejoints, donc on peut commencer et les autres vont nous rejoindre en chemin. Je ne suis pas présentée jusque-là, je m'appelle Marie Mornandé, je viens du Tchad, je serai la modératrice pour ce webinaire. Et c'est un honneur encore une fois de pouvoir collaborer avec le CABEF dans le cadre de ce panel sur la jeunesse et l'énergie en Afrique centrale. As I was saying, for English-speaking folks that are joining us today, my name is Marie Mornandé. I'm from Chad. I will be the moderator for this webinar. I was saying earlier that we're going to allow some time for the attendees to be able to join us before we start the discussion. I see that we have quite a number of them that are here already, so we are going to be starting shortly. Welcome to the CABEF Youth in Energy webinar. Just as a reminder, I'm sure that if you are here, if you are present today, you are quite aware of what the CABEF is and what the work they do is. But just as a reminder so that we can all be up to speed. CABEF is a platform to develop cooperation between states and stimulate energy industrialization in Central Africa. It is an association of energy experts working together with public and private partners in the Central African oil and gas sector to develop energy infrastructure in the Central African sub-region in order to improve lives, populations, and encourage economic dynamism. So just in short, CABEF is here to help Africa, and in particular Central Africa, stimulate the energy sector and be able to fulfill the needs of its populations when it comes to energy and development. We all know that development comes with great needs in terms of energy. We're going to be discussing that more in details with our panelists, but just so that you know more about the organization that's bringing us today together under this webinar. Sans plus tarder, je vais donner l'opportunité à nos panélistes de se présenter et nous dire un peu brièvement, nous parler de leur parcours. Et ensuite, nous allons entrer dans le vif du sujet en ce qui concerne les discussions. As I was just saying now, I'm going to allow our different panelists that have made the time to join us today and share their experiences, share the challenges in the energy sector in Central Africa. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. I don't think I'm going to be doing them justice if I have to speak about each and every one of them and the rich career that they've had in the energy sector. So I'm going to allow each and every one of them to introduce themselves and talk more about what they've learned from the energy sector in Africa in general. I'm going to be calling first Miss Netzanet Tai Said. She's from Ethiopia. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering certificate in project management, energy efficiency, internal energy auditor. I'm going to allow her to tell her more and bring forward the parts of her academic and professional career that are relevant to the topic that we are discussing today. So Jeunesse, I think you are with us. If you don't mind opening up your mic and telling us more about yourself.
Thank you so much, Mary, for this opportunity. Can you hear me very well?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, so I would like to thank CABEF for this opportunity for this webinar. And I would like also to welcome all the panelists and participants, attendees to this webinar. So to introduce myself, as Mari said, I'm electrical engineer, a Bachelor of Science holder, and I have different certifications like project management, internal energy auditor, and also many courses, like short-term courses in renewable energy, solar photovoltaic, wind, bioenergy, and also hydropower. I have been working for the last 10 years as electrical engineer, senior electromechanical engineer, and currently I completed a project, renewable energy project for Caritas Switzerland, which benefited more than 10,000 people, to improve, to get improved education and health, and also more than 261 people to improve their income through access to clean electricity through solar photovoltaic. So I think this is enough about me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jeunesse. Sorry, we're going to get a chance to get to know you more as we speak later on and get into the discussions. Welcome to everyone that's joining us. We are the CABEF Youth in Energy webinar. That's what you're listening to currently. We are currently introducing our brilliant panelists. I'm going to ask Mr. Idriss Mahamat from Chad to open up his mic and tell us more about himself. Monsieur Idriss Mahamat du Tchad, si vous voulez bien vous présenter, s'il vous plaît.
Bonjour, merci pour cette opportunité de participer à votre webinaire. C'est une très bonne initiative par la CABEF. Je me présente, moi c'est Monsieur Idriss Mahamat, ingénieur en génie électrotechnique, diplômé en France. Je suis spécialisé dans l'énergie renouvelable et j'ai décidé de venir au Tchad afin de travailler dans le domaine et travailler dans ma passion, bien sûr. Donc, au Tchad, depuis 10 ans, j'ai créé ma société Sarel Semsel, qui est spécialisée pas seulement dans l'énergie renouvelable, mais aussi dans la IT solutions et tout ce qui va avec l'électricité. Et ça se passe très bien. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Mahamat. Je vais juste faire une petite traduction pour nos amis qui sont anglophones. So, Mr. Idriss Mahamat is an engineer in electrotechnical and CEO of the society SMCEL. It's a Chadian company specializing in renewable energy. So thank you so much, Mr. Mahamat, for being with us today. I'm now calling Mr. Godfrey Simiyu Katiambo. If you don't mind, can you please tell us more about yourself?
Bonjour, bonjour. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Godfrey Katiambo. I am based in Kenya. I currently work as a senior regional commercial specialist for energy access at Energy for Impact, Mexico. But I have gathered over 15 years experience in the off-grid renewable energy sector, working from the business side of things to the enterprise development as an entrepreneur. And now I work in the development sector where we support clean energy companies across Africa to promote technologies and innovative business models to support access to clean energy. I'll talk more about what we do in the coming session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Katiambo. It's an honor to have you with us today. I'm now calling Mrs. Madinge Asani from Chad as well. She is a civil engineer, 35-year-old. She's a site supervisor for Jeunesse engineers and Conseil, and sub-regional representative at Tawara Group. I'm going to allow her to speak in French and tell us more about her professional and academic journey.
Okay.
Asani,
Thank you, Marie. Hello, everyone. I'm going to make my presentation in French, right? So,
yeah,
je suis...
tu peux te présenter en français.
Ok. Je suis Madingue Hassani, ingénieur, génie civil de formation. Et depuis 3 ans, je suis en reconversion dans les secteurs de l'énergie. Donc, je travaille avec Jeunesse en tant qu'ingénieur génie civil dans tout ce qui est projet routier. Et avec Tawara Group, c'est une entreprise lancée par des Tchadiens qui résident au Canada, mais on a des succursales un peu partout en Afrique. Donc, on est spécialisé dans le transport de l'énergie à haute tension. Donc, on a eu à faire quelques projets au Gabon, Guinée, Mali, Niger. Donc, dans le domaine de l'énergie, je suis nouvelle, ça fait 3 ans. Donc, je suis sur un projet qui consiste à fournir de l'électricité dans les foyers ruraux à partir des bousses d'animaux. Et nous travaillons aussi en ce moment avec une autre collègue à comment implémenter cela en N'Djamena. Donc, voilà en grosso modo ce que je fais avec Tawara et Jeunesse ingénieur français. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Hassani. Nous avons hâte d'apprendre plus sur le travail que vous faites au Tchad, en particulier, un peu plus tard dans la conversation. I'm now calling Mrs. Precious Mutale Chilekwa. Sorry if I'm butchering these names, African names. Let's be a bit tolerant because I have a hard time sometimes. So, Mrs. Precious, if you don't mind telling us more about yourself and your work.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Precious Chilekwa, just Miss, and you got the name correct. And okay, I am a chemical engineer, and I also have certification in sustainable energy systems as well as project management of sustainable energy systems. And I'm currently working as a sales engineer, and I have a vast background in manufacturing. So my interest in energy and my drive to enter the energy sector goes as far back as I can remember, but I put it in effect starting last year when I decided to pursue further with Student Energy, which is an institution in Vancouver. Through them, I was able to learn a bigger picture of what the energy sector looks like. And through them, I was able to develop a startup called Nova Energy, which I'm currently developing the blueprints for. But at the same time, I am inspired by a lot of the strides that other young people in Zambia are doing, and just the whole picture in the energy sector in Zambia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Precious. Now the mic will go to Johan. If you don't mind, Johan, opening up your mic and telling us more about yourself and your work. Johan Aris.
Yeah, I'm getting you guys.
Okay.
Okay, French or English? Any of them?
Yeah, whichever you're more comfortable in.
Okay, hello everyone. Nice to participate in this interesting webinar. I'm Mr. Bikun Johan Harris, a petroleum engineer and an active member of the Central African Business and Energy Forum. I'm also the administrative director of Cameroon Petroleum Corporation. It's a company specialized in the distribution, importation, and engineering of petroleum products here in Cameroon. And I also run a company in partnership with partners in South Africa. We do in energy tech solution. Company's name is Energy. So I'm happy meeting you guys, and I hope we will have the opportunity to share and talk more. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Johan. I think we're going to go to our last panelist, Mr. Yann Pierre Albert Yangari. If you don't mind opening up your mic and telling us a bit about yourself and your work.
Bonjour, bonjour tout le monde. Hi everyone. Thank you for the invitation. So my name is Yann Yangari. I have an MSc in oil and gas enterprise management, and I've been working in the oil sector for about a bit more than 10 years. I started at a national oil company in Gabon, and from there, for the past 5 years, I've been very interested in the energy transition and working on valorization of flare gas here in Gabon. This took me to lead the gas task force in Gabon to define the gas strategy for the country. And today I'm working on energy development projects. So how to use natural gas, flared natural gas for gas to power. So working on 2 gas to power projects in Gabon and some other fuel switch projects. So very interested in energy transition and in tackling energy poverty in Africa. I'm very happy to speak more about what we do here with you guys.
Thank you so much, Monsieur Yann. Sans plus tarder, nous allons entrer dans le vif du sujet des discussions de notre panel. Pour ceux qui nous rejoignent maintenant, nous sommes au panel du CABEF, au webinaire du CABEF sur l'énergie et la jeunesse. Nos différents panélistes se sont présentés, ils nous ont parlé un peu de leurs divers parcours et nous allons maintenant entrer dans le vif du sujet des discussions. So I was just saying that we are now going to go to the meat of our sessions. We're going to, after allowing our panelists to introduce themselves, we're going to start with the discussions now. Just as a reminder for the people that have joined us along the way, we are a webinar for the CABEF Youth in Energy under the theme Youth in Energy, Promoting a Brighter Future for Africa. So, as I was saying, we are now going to, just before we get to the discussion, sorry, just allow me to brush a bit over the objectives for this event, because there was a reason why the CABEF, as an organization, decided to hold this event, because they were trying to highlight to young Africans that play a role in the energy sector by providing a platform for them to share their journey, their obstacles that they have overcome, the impact that they have made in the energy sector, and also their lesson learned. So we are all here to learn from each and every one of our panelists, but also the attendees, every single one of us present today. We are going to learn from each other, from the progress that has been made, from the challenge that we have faced in the energy sector in Africa, in particular in Central Africa, but all over the continent as well. We are also informing African youth of the broadness of the energy sector, as well as the gaps, challenges, and opportunity that it possesses, igniting interactive discussion between young Africans in this regard. So we are here all to have a discussion amongst panelists and attendees, and to talk about the energy sector and what solutions we can bring forward for the energy sector in Africa as a continent. We're also paving a way for the youth to engage with CABEF with the proposal for collaboration and support regarding ideas and solutions that will help achieve ending energy poverty in Africa in general and Central Africa in particular. So one of the objectives of this webinar is to allow us to come together with solutions with the CABEF and all the different partners for ending energy poverty in Africa. We're also trying to provide the platform for energy early discussions about actionable strategies to unlock opportunities for young professionals and entrepreneurs in the sector of energy in Africa. All right, that was a mouthful. So we are now going to move on to our discussions. I'm going to go back to Netsanet. I think I started with her, so I'm going to go back to her now and ask her this question. What opportunities are available for young people in the energy sector, including education, training, and mentorship program? So Netsanet Said from Ethiopia, if you don't mind taking the first question. The first question, what are the different opportunities that exist in the energy sector in terms of education, training, and mentorship program for young Africans?
Okay, thank you so much, Mari. So the opportunities in Africa for young people in the energy sectors are vast. There are many online courses if they are engaged in and look for in many platforms like LinkedIn, for example. There are some online platforms like AFYEL, African Young Energy Leaders, African Fellowship for Young Energy Leaders, where I am also part of the team. There are also many universities which provide trainings, mentorships, and opportunities in the energy sector. For example, Pan-African University of Water and Energy is one of those. And also, especially for women, also there are Women Renewable Energy Africa platform where they mentor women to develop their skills in the energy leadership, technical skills. So there are many opportunities if they are actively engaged in different networking platforms. They can get these opportunities. So what is expected from each of us is to dig for opportunities, network with fellow young people and other experts in the energy sector, so that we can get the opportunity and apply for those and build ourselves to be competent to join those fellowships. So these are the opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Netsanet. I'm going to be asking the same question to Johan. Maybe you can complete her answer and also bring out other elements. Johan, what are the opportunities that exist for in the energy sector in terms of training programs, education for young Africans?
Okay, thank you very much. I think I also like to give the opportunity for those in Central Africa, because we said it's a Central African Business and Energy Forum. So I would like to express myself in French to give them the opportunity to understand, because I also know most of our audience are French speaking. So right now, dans le secteur de l'énergie, nous les jeunes, nous devons beaucoup plus participer. Je l'ai dit pendant le CABEF 2023 au Tchad, où les jeunes, nous devons plus être actifs sur les réseaux et s'informer sur les forums comme le CABEF, comme le African Oil Week, African Energy Week, et que les plateformes comme le CABEF permettent de créer cet environnement pour les jeunes, d'échanger. Et bon, nous, cette plateforme, on a souvent tendance à mettre les jeunes de côté, de telle sorte que quand nous organisons le CABEF, on dit, OK, il y a la session de youth. Après la session de youth, les youth n'arrivent pas à participer au panel exact, ou ils n'arrivent pas à participer aux discussions intéressantes ou importantes de l'événement. Donc, je pense que ce que nous avons fait comme le CABEF, ou ce que nous faisons en tant qu'identité du CABEF, nous laissons la possibilité aux jeunes de participer à l'événement proprement dit. Donc, l'année passée, les jeunes du Tchad, s'ils sont là, ils ont demandé cette doléance de pouvoir participer à l'événement proprement dit CABEF, où les intervenants, les professionnels échangent et discutent. Donc, nous essayons de mettre cette plateforme pour donner l'opportunité aux jeunes de vraiment s'exprimer et de saisir les opportunités. Parce que c'est vrai qu'on dit youth, youth, youth. Par moment, on nous donne l'accord de ici, toujours cette corde. Donc, nous, en tant que CABEF, nous voulons donner cet accès aux jeunes de participer. Bon. Et aussi aux jeunes de beaucoup s'informer et de participer activement et s'engager. Il y a de l'opportunité, il n'y a pas la main-d'œuvre. Les gens ne sont pas formés. Ceux qui sont formés, qu'ils reviennent au Cameroun ou au Tchad ou au Gabon. Donc, c'est à féliciter de voir qu'il y a des jeunes qui pensent à revenir en Afrique et effectivement explorer parce qu'il y a beaucoup d'opportunités pour nous. Donc, sur ce point, I think that's what I wanted to add. Thank you. Going to translate.
Merci beaucoup, Johan. Je vais juste compléter un peu ce que tu viens de nous énoncer. Notamment, le prochain forum du CABEF aura lieu du 23 au 25 octobre au Gabon. Donc, c'est une occasion pour tous les jeunes Gabonais de participer, déjà d'avoir une introduction au secteur de l'énergie en Afrique centrale et même de la sous-région, de s'informer sur les avancées qui existent dans le domaine. Donc, vous pouvez aller sur le site cabef2024.com, www.cabef2024.com pour vous inscrire, pour pouvoir participer à la prochaine édition du forum du CABEF. Et il y aura notamment un panel spécialement dédié aux jeunes qui est prévu. Donc, c'est une occasion pour ces jeunes-là, comme Johan l'a dit, de s'impliquer un peu plus, de prendre un peu plus d'initiative pour essayer d'entrer dans le secteur de l'énergie en Afrique centrale. So just a short summary of Johan's contribution. He was talking about the importance, why it's very urgent for young people to get involved in the energy sector in Africa, in Central Africa in particular, because we tend to just be co-opted pretty much and have like side events when they are talking about things that really matters. The youth would be like a side event, and we cannot really have that way of doing things anymore. We should be having the initiative to be more involved and also be at the forefront of discussions and events and happenings that are really pushing the question of the access to energy in Africa and in Central Africa in particular forward. Like I was saying, the next edition of the CABEF forum will be taking place in the Gabon, in Libreville, in October, from the 23rd to the 25th of October 2024. So young people from all over the continent, but in Gabon in particular, if they want to get involved, this is an opportunity for them, so they can go and register on the website www.cabef2024.com, www.cabef2024.com, and they can register on the website and get involved with the discussions and the whole event, and go and learn more about the energy sector in Central Africa and how they can maybe enter the industry, maybe have their career move forward from that event. So yeah, thank you so much, Johan. I'm going to move on to another question, but just before that, I want to encourage every single one of our attendees, if you can look at the bottom of the screen, there's a chat box. You can enter your email address there and so that you can get some messaging from our CABEF teams, so that you can also be in touch with every single event that we might have going on in the future. So, juste en français, que tout le monde soit sur la même page. En bas de votre écran, je pense qu'on voit tous, il y a un onglet qui est chat. Je ne sais pas si en français c'est chat également, Johan. Je ne sais pas si en français c'est chat également, mais il y a un onglet où vous pouvez envoyer des messages en fait. Et puis la team
Oui, c'est
CABEF.
Chat.
Ok, d'accord, merci beaucoup. Donc, il y a un onglet chat, vous pouvez cliquer sur cet onglet et envoyer des messages et la team CABEF sera en contact avec vous. Et vous pouvez recevoir des emails, des communications sur les webinaires à venir, sur le prochain forum qui aura lieu au Gabon et être toujours à jour sur l'actualité du CABEF. Donc, si vous pouvez mettre votre email adresse là, ce serait facile pour l'équipe de... Ah, OK, excusez-moi, c'est dans questions et réponses. Il y a l'onglet Q&A. In English, it's Q&A. That's why you're supposed to be putting in your email address. Et en français, c'est questions-réponses. C'est là où vous mettez vos contacts pour que l'équipe CABEF puisse entrer en contact avec vous et que vous puissiez être à jour sur l'actualité de l'organisation et du secteur de l'énergie en Afrique centrale. Sans plus tarder, nous allons continuer avec nos discussions. Je vais poser une autre question maintenant. OK. We have talked a bit about the opportunities that exist in the energy sector in Africa, in terms of programs, in terms of training, in terms of education. And Johan also told us about the need for us to take more initiative in accessing those opportunities. Now, I would like to know more about the current landscape of the African energy sector. And does it provide enough opportunities and information to encourage and assist young people to contribute to the sector? So I'm going to turn to Mr. Yangari. Can you tell us, please, about the current landscape of the African energy sector? And in your experience, does it provide enough opportunities and information to encourage and assist young people to contribute to that sector? Juste en français, pour que tout le monde soit à la même page, je demande est-ce que le secteur de l'énergie actuellement fournit assez d'opportunités et d'informations pour encourager les jeunes à contribuer à ce secteur ou à s'intéresser et à entrer dans ce secteur d'activité? Donc, la parole est à M. Yangari pour répondre à cette question.
Merci pour la question. C'est une question très intéressante. Il faut savoir que je vais commencer spécifiquement et m'élargir un peu. Aujourd'hui, le secteur de l'énergie en Afrique, il y a un lac d'information en fait. Il y a vraiment un déficit d'information sur notre secteur énergétique. Nous avons des initiatives comme, bien sûr, avec l'Union africaine, qui fait quand même beaucoup de rapports et qui produit un rapport annuel sur ce qui se passe. Mais si on regarde plus en détail, la majorité des pays qui sont toujours, dont les informations sont toujours disponibles, c'est les mêmes, hein, c'est l'Algérie, le Nigeria, l'Égypte, c'est les plus grands pays africains. Quand on regarde les autres pays, les plus petits pays comme le Gabon, le Cameroun, le Tchad, la Centrafrique, le Congo, c'est plus difficile vraiment d'avoir des informations sur le secteur de l'énergie. C'est pour ça que même si moi, par exemple, étant gabonais, pour connaître le secteur de l'industrie, c'était très compliqué en fait. Il a fallu que je fasse des stages aux entreprises pétrolières pour comprendre vraiment ce secteur et pour comprendre l'impact de ce secteur. Donc aujourd'hui, ce qui manque en fait, c'est ça, c'est que dans nos gouvernements et dans nos cursus même scolaires, hein, c'est vrai qu'il y a certaines universités, comme au Gabon, il y a l'université de Masuku, l'USTM, qui forme dans ce domaine, mais généralement, il n'y a pas cette information disponible. Nous manquons vraiment des magazines, il manque de magazines, il manque de forums, il manque d'associations en fait de jeunes Africains pour essayer de trouver des solutions pour le secteur énergétique en Afrique. Et ça, c'est un peu lié au fait qu'aujourd'hui, avec tout le discours sur la transition énergétique, on nous impose un peu un choix sur ce secteur, on nous impose de regarder les technologies qui viennent de l'extérieur, en fait, et qui sont pas forcément toujours utiles à nous, comme des technologies comme l'hydrogène. Il y a pas mal d'informations. Si tu fais des recherches sur l'hydrogène, tu vas trouver. Si tu fais des recherches bon, dernièrement sur le solaire et sur l'éolien aussi, mais par contre, sur l'hydro, il y a beaucoup de projets hydro en Afrique. Il y a beaucoup de pays africains qui utilisent l'hydroélectricité comme source d'énergie. C'est pas très documenté. Le gaz aussi, je trouve qu'aujourd'hui, on ne parle pas assez du potentiel gazier africain et du gaspillage de ressources qui se fait de ce côté-là, parce que la majorité du gaz produit en Afrique est torché, tout simplement brûlé au lieu d'être utilisé. Euh, donc ça fait qu'en fait, il y a beaucoup d'opportunités. C'est dans les problèmes qu'on trouve des opportunités. Et le fait qu'on ne parle pas assez des problématiques du secteur de l'énergie qui pourraient être réglées par des Africains pour des Africains fait qu'il y a quand même un déficit d'information sur le secteur.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yangari. So just a quick translation. He's been talking about the lack of information that exists in the energy sector in Africa. It's very unfortunate that we notice that only information and statistics are available only for a few countries, namely the biggest countries in Africa in terms of population, but also in terms of industrialization. So those are the countries where you would be able to find documentation and information and also up-to-date information for those countries. But like for most of our countries, especially the countries in Central Africa, we have noticed that there's a lack, especially in terms of access to information for young people, also access to trainings and different programs that would allow them to be able to enter those sectors of activities. And there's also a lack of diversification of the different energy opportunities that people are accessing and also pursuing in the sub-region, because he was speaking, for example, for oil. There's also gas production that comes with that, but unfortunately, instead of exploiting that, it goes to waste because of a lack of, I don't know if it's knowledge, I don't know if it's know-how, but we are not exploiting all the resources and opportunities that exist, unfortunately, in the energy sector in Central Africa in particular. So, another question. I'm going to ask
I
now.
add something to what he said, because he said it's a
Okay,
discussion.
go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm not contradicting what he's saying, but I think there's no lack of information. There's just lack of interest. I think so, because the platform for where we can have this discussion, if you just go to your LinkedIn and who you're following, you'll see African Energy Week, African Energy, African Oil Week, Gabon Oil Week. We have all sorts of oil and gas and energy forums that are just going on everywhere and all the time. We just need to be well informed or put the place right. And also those organizations should strategically implicate the youth, as what the CABEF is doing right now. The CABEF is bringing together the youth, telling the youth, what do you want? What are your issues? How can we integrate you into these activities? We should not just be organizing events and not implicating the youth to better or to make them more informed of the sector. So I think there are a lot of events that are going on. I just think that they don't implicate us into that. So it's very important for them to implicate us. So I was saying in French, je ne pense pas qu'il y a un manque d'événements ou de plateformes pour qu'on puisse s'informer exactement. Mais par contre, c'est au niveau de l'intégration des jeunes pendant ces événements, comme je le disais tout à l'heure. Il y a tellement d'événements qui se passent, surtout en novembre, octobre, mais il faudrait que ces événements essayent de plus impliquer les jeunes, de ne pas nous mettre de côté. et essayer de créer un environnement pour les éduquer ou pour partager les informations qu'ils ont. Parce que quand vous participez à ces événements, il y a tellement d'informations, il y a tellement d'opportunités et il y a beaucoup de choses qui se disent pendant ces événements. Donc, je pense juste qu'on doit être au bon moment, dans le bon endroit et au bon moment. Donc, c'était juste pour ajouter sur son point.
Merci beaucoup,
Thank
Yohan.
you.
Je pense que...
Can I jump in?
Yeah, of course, Mr.
Yes.
Katambo, you can go.
Yes, this is a very interesting question, and especially from where I sit in terms of my work and the kind of programs that we engaged in. You will find that in the past 12 months, in terms of the Africa, especially for those of us in the renewable energy sector, I think the USAID Power Africa program has launched Empower South Africa, Empower West Africa, and actually there's a process of doing Empower Nigeria. World Bank is doing DARES in Nigeria and parts of West Africa. And also there's a World Bank program that is actually coming up called Ascenti. And so, and in East Africa, there has been a lot of work that, of course, all this started in East Africa, Power Africa, then across Africa. So you can see that there's a gap when you get to the Congo and Chad and Gabon and Cameroon. There is very little that is happening in Central Africa. And one of the things that made me happy to be part of this session is just to highlight that I think Central Africa needs to up its game. We need to probably make a lot of noise about the fact that, yeah, just like all these programs that are being brought to empower communities, with, especially in the push for the green transition. Central Africa is part of Africa, and we need to just raise our head up and also be part of these discussions and also tap into these resources, because all these are resources that are being brought to support these communities. But again, the youth are the biggest beneficiaries of these projects in terms of the opportunities, that the employment opportunities and the livelihood opportunities that come with these projects.
If I could just add on to what Mr. Katiamba was saying.
Okay, go ahead. I was going to give you the next question, so you can just jump from there.
Okay. I would agree with Mr. Yan on this. While there are solutions, there are trainings available, and as Johan mentioned, you can find these resources online, and you can find them on LinkedIn or wherever. I think in reality, the demographic of the African youth are either rural or peri-urban. So the fact is, the fight against climate change or the fight towards sustainable energy is not going to be won by people who can access LinkedIn. And that's where the gap is created and widened. So the resources might be there, but how many of them are in our various local languages? How many of them are accessible to, say, women in the villages, in remote towns? Yes, they may be accessible in universities with the urban youth, but are they so accessible that somebody in a remote village is able to act upon the trainings they're receiving and also play their part, because they need to play their part as well? And if we're going to move away from, say, non-sustainable practices of agriculture or of energy usage, of non-clean cooking, if we're going to move away from those practices, everybody has to have a play and has to have their hand in the game if it's going to work. So I agree with Mr. Yan. The resources are there, but not quite enough. The gap is wide and it needs to be closed.
And just to quickly add to that, thank you, Precious. It's really where I want is where I wanted to go with this. Is that today, if you look at Africa, the local communities are the one who will make a difference if we really want to make a difference. And it's true that if you look at the international one, the businessmen, the corporations, those big entities, yes, there's a lot of platforms for them to interact. But when you look at the local communities, even if you look at eco practices, sustainable energy practices, if you go to local communities, you will not find them at the town hall, or you will not find them at a library, like libraries, to get that information. Even if you're a Gabonese and you're in Gabon and you want to read on what does my country have in terms of energy, what can I do, you will not find this information. You don't have a library where you can go. Even if you go to the Ministry of Oil and Gas or Energy, there's no this information available. You need to be aware of, you need to have internet, you need to have a computer, you need to be connected, you need to fly and all of that. I'm myself a panelist at Africa All Week, but it's all corporations. It's not, you don't touch the local communities. And what I mean is that if you want the difference, if you look in Europe, if you look in America, if you look even in Asia, it's all about local communities and people on the ground, who build that from the bottom to the top. Because if we don't do it from bottom to top, it will just be politics, really. So that's why I mean that we need to try and get the information to the bottom, to the youth, and to the people in those countries who knows that, okay, this is the resource available in my region. Because even if you're in a region, oil-rich region, you might not know that this is the natural gas that's been wasted. Can you not create a company to try and know how to use this gas or for solar, etc., etc. So this is really where I was trying to point out that information need to be available from the bottom so that people on the ground are able to use it in practical ways, and that's how we're going to be able to make a difference with off-grid solutions, and etc.
Thank you so much to all our panelists. I can feel that the discussion is going to be very interesting. Thank you for all your inputs. So what I'm gathering is that we need to make the information not only available, but also accessible in terms of language, in terms of ways to access it from all over our different countries that are resonating with our cultures and our realities. So I'm sure something that CABEF can also look into exploring with their different partners. We're going to move on to the next question because we have a few that we need to go through and we'll have more opportunities to interact and discuss with one another. So I'm going to ask this question to Mrs. Asani. What challenges faced by young entrepreneurs in the energy sector, including access to finance and investment, as well as available opportunities for them? From her presentation earlier, she told us that she has a company that is involved in the energy sector. So I want to ask her, from her experience, what are the different challenges that young entrepreneurs face? Hassani, la question est pour toi. Je voudrais qu'on parle des différents challenges que les jeunes entrepreneurs dans le secteur énergétique, notamment en termes d'accès aux finances et à l'investissement. Quels sont les différents challenges auxquels font face les jeunes entrepreneurs qui veulent entrer dans ce secteur?
Merci Marie. Je pense que je vais parler plus dans le cadre de mon cas, mon expérience, et puis avec les jeunes que je côtoie au Tchad. C'est que nous sommes, comme les discussions qui viennent de passer, l'accès à l'information. Nous avons vraiment cette défaillance-là. Nous ne savons pas où chercher la bonne information. Et comme il y a quelqu'un qui le disait, quand tu vas en ligne pour chercher les informations, il y a plus sur l'évolution actuelle dans le secteur énergétique dans le monde. C'est-à-dire c'est plus l'hydro. Mais maintenant, chez nous, c'est les trucs basiques, c'est-à-dire trouver des solutions qui rentrent dans le contexte. C'est difficile de trouver des informations. Il y a des financements qui sont là. Il y a des projets vraiment, en ce moment au Tchad, qui financent tout ce qui est projet dans le solaire, tout ce qui est dans l'énergie renouvelable à partir des gaz naturels, mais on n'a pas accès à cette information. Donc, moi, pour mon cas, j'étais sur mon projet, mais je savais même pas qu'il y avait une structure au pays, au ministère du pétrole, qui soutenait ces genres de projets. Il a fallu CABEF. J'ai été contactée par CABEF, donc j'ai suivi pour l'année dernière, je suis rentrée en contact, et c'est là que je découvre qu'en fait, il y a des structures en place dans mon pays dont je ne suis pas au courant, qui accompagnent ces genres de projets, qui accompagnent ces genres de jeunes. Donc, c'est vraiment que nous, les jeunes, nous puissions vraiment mettre en place ce réseau pour pouvoir travailler conjointement avec les ministères de mines, du pétrole ou les entreprises comme la SHT. Ils ont ces genres de programmes dans leurs institutions, mais c'est pas connu. C'est pas connu. Donc, il faut vraiment booster, chercher l'information, et aller pour avoir ces programmes. Et la deuxième des choses, c'est qu'il faut bien faire son projet. Parce que le financement, c'est ça. Il faut bien ficeler son projet. Si tu ne ficelles pas ton projet de la bonne manière, ça veut dire que quelqu'un ne peut pas investir dans ton projet s'il ne sait pas où ça commence, où ça va aboutir et voir l'autre d'ici 5 ans, qu'est-ce que ça va donner. C'est très important. Et ça, on ne l'apprend pas. Parce que c'est quelque chose de nouveau dans notre pays, c'est quelque chose de nouveau dans nos contextes, donc même dans nos structures éducatives, on doit insérer ces gens. Parce que l'énergie renouvelable, il faut comprendre le concept de l'énergie renouvelable. Tu vas en ligne, tu comprends un concept dans des pays déjà très développés qui n'utilisent plus les moyens basiques. Alors que nous, on est plus dans tout ce qui est solaire, photovoltaïque ou bien dans du biogaz. Mais ça, c'est des concepts, c'est pas très développé en fait. Mais il y a des structures en place comme au Burkina Faso, au Kenya, c'est très développé. J'ai vu des structures pareilles. Donc, il faut connaître les contours, adapter ton projet dans ton contexte, les études de faisabilité, c'est très important. Donner des chiffres concrets et réalisés. Maintenant, l'autre défaut, c'est que tout bailleur de fonds, ce que j'ai rencontré dans mon pays, OK, ton projet, il est bien ficelé, mais il te demande si c'est réalisé. Alors que ce qui est important dans un projet, c'est le projet pilote, en fait. Parce que c'est ce qui te permet il faut du financement, parce que pour les recherches et mettre en place et résoudre tout ce qui va avec. Donc, voilà, grosso modo, ce que je peux dire par rapport aux défis que j'ai eu à rencontrer. Bien sûr. Merci, Marie.
Merci beaucoup, Hassani. So, she
Oui,
was
je
just
peux
talking about
ajouter
Oh,
un petit
sorry.
mot.
Please, tu veux prendre la parole juste une minute pour
Oui,
que je puisse
juste
traduire
pour ajouter quelque chose.
et ensuite tu auras la parole. So she was talking a bit about her experience in the energy sector in Chad, the fact that there's a big lack of access to information, as we were talking about earlier. Also, there are opportunities, there are programs that exist with the different government institutions that you might not be aware of. Also, the need to have a well-written project. Also, to be your project should be based on studies. You should be able to, as much as you can, get studies done about the sector that you're willing to enter into, so that you can have a solid project and that would be attractive to investors. So I'm going to now allow Mr. Mohammed to also share about his experience in Chad.
Bonjour à tous et à toutes. Merci pour cette plateforme, pour pouvoir nous exprimer et donner notre avis sur certaines choses qui sont vraiment primordiales ici en Afrique. Moi, j'attire l'attention juste sur le fait que si, pour commencer quelque chose, il faut savoir où commencer pour savoir où aller. Nous avons un problème en Afrique en général. Euh, Aujourd'hui, l'énergie renouvelable n'a pas de structure, n'a pas de normes, n'a pas de standing que on peut l'utiliser partout. Je prends un exemple sur les solaires, par exemple. Nous sommes très spécialisés dans le solaire au Tchad. On a beaucoup d'études là-dessus. Il n'y a aucune norme qui permet les jeunes de savoir qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire quand je vais installer tel produit, tel matériel, comment faire. rien que les panneaux solaires, les commerçants, ils partent en Chine, ils partent en Europe, où ils trouvent le panneau solaire le moins cher. Ils vont l'acheter, ils vont l'apporter au Tchad. Ils vont le vendre. Mais par contre, est-ce qu'il est adapté sur la réalité locale? Les températures, les ampérages, des détails qui sont très importants, mais par contre, nous ne prenons pas en compte. Euh, dans cette plateforme, avec votre organisation, moi, je suggère, c'est vrai qu'il faut faire de l'information, il faut donner l'accès aux jeunes, tout ça. Mais par contre, il faut commencer déjà par le primordial, c'est de construire une norme, de savoir qu'est-ce qu'on a besoin. Par exemple, au Tchad, on a besoin au Gabon, on a besoin au Cameroun. Ce sont des climats différents. Au Tchad, nous avons les poussières, on a ça, on a ci, on a ça. Tel panneau ne peut pas fonctionner tout ça. Et au Tchad, notre problème, c'est que les gens, ils ont peur de l'énergie renouvelable. Pourquoi ils ont peur? Parce que il y en a qui ont installé pendant 1 an, 2 ans, ça y est, ça ne marche plus. Pourquoi? Il y a beaucoup de, comment dirais-je, des normes, des trucs techniques qui sont pas respectés. Et c'est là que voilà, des gens ils sont dans la incertitude pour pouvoir investir dans ce domaine-là. Ça c'est, je parle pour le cas particulier. Et après, en tout cas, ce qui est concernant la facilité pour y accéder au projet, tout ça. C'est vrai que voilà, au Tchad ou en Afrique en général, nous n'avons pas des partenaires pragmatiques qui nous permettent de former des jeunes, les donner des vraies formations techniques, théorie et pratique. Actuellement, c'est vrai que voilà, nous sommes encore des ressources humaines, mais les ressources humaines qui sont actuelles, ce sont des ressources humaines qui sont motivées, des jeunes motivés qui travaillent actuellement dans l'énergie renouvelable. Mais par contre, ils n'ont pas de formation adéquate. Il les manque. Pourquoi on installe tel panneau à telle puissance? Pourquoi on installe tel ondulaire? Pourquoi on installe telle batterie? Tout ça. Donc, nous avons besoin des centres de formation qui puissent former ces jeunes-là, qui sont motivés, qui veulent faire appartenir dans le monde de l'énergie renouvelable, mais par contre, ils n'ont pas l'opportunité de savoir comment je vais me former. Pour se former maintenant, aujourd'hui, si au Tchad, quelqu'un qui décide de se former, il est obligé de partir en Europe, ou au Maroc, ou en Algérie, c'est un coût. À partir de la formation, une fois à son retour, il faut qu'il ouvre son entreprise pour pouvoir s'installer. Donc, il y a beaucoup de paramètres à prendre en compte aussi. Par contre, concernant tout ce qui est de normes en Afrique, au jour d'aujourd'hui, on rentre sur Internet, rien que pour moi, je demande les normes ou les données de chat pour une installation électrique, bah, je ne peux rien trouver. Il n'y a aucune donnée qui existe. Pourtant, il y a des normes internationaux, il faut se confirmer tout ça. Normalement, chaque pays devra avoir des normes spécifiques pour son pays. Donc voilà, le commerçant, quand il achète le produit, soit adapté à la réalité locale.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Mamat. Mr. Idris Mamat from Chad was just telling us regarding the lack of information. He was going further and saying that we also have in Africa in general a lack of norms and regulations. For example, he took the example of Chad. Now we have a very bad energy problem in Chad. It's one of the worst countries in terms of access to electricity. And what people are doing now, because they cannot rely on the public company to provide them reliable energy, they are moving towards solar panels. And when they get solar panels, many people have had bad experiences because the solar panels that are available on the market, the ones that are bought from importers that go to China or to Europe or to wherever to buy those solar panels and come and sell them to Chad. They just get whichever solar panel is the cheapest so that they can maximize their own profit. But what they don't consider is the fact that when people buy them and they install them in their house, and 1 year or 2 years afterwards, those solar panels are not useful anymore. They cannot be used. They don't produce energy at the same rate or the same way that they did when they were just installed. So it also makes people wary of moving to renewable sources of energies. It makes people be distrustful of solar energy and other forms of renewable energy. So he was raising the fact that we need also to make the move towards having norms that are in context and also reflect our realities, because the weather in Chad is not the same as the weather in Gabon. It's not the same as the weather in whatever country in Central Africa or in the rest of the continent. So we need to have norms that are specific to our realities, our context, and our environment, so that people would be encouraged to move towards other sources of energy, and also so that we can make advances in the energy sector globally. So thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed.
If I may add on this topic as well, I think that on the
a few minutes because we need to go on to the next question. Thank you.
Okay. On the financing for projects as well, what is important to note is that research is information. There's not enough studies, as was just said. For instance, in Gabon, I haven't seen one study on solar capacity in Gabon to know, okay, which region of Gabon has the best exposed to sun if you want to use sun, or if I want to do biogas, which region, what type of intrant, what type of resources is most produced by waste in Gabon, and that can be used to produce the electricity. And this as well is what is difficult for when you want to create a business plan, because when you want to create a business plan, if you don't have the money to finance your own pilot project, at least if there was that research information available, if you look at the same question in Europe or in America, all of this is already available. You can just go on the internet, find information on the resources, and then you can use this information to build your business plan. So that's as well something where we need to work harder as Africans to try and, with those sort of platform like CABEF, like APA, the APO, and all of those, the African Union, all those platforms, to be able to as well have studies on energies, on the energy sources in different countries, to know which type of energy sources, what's the resource like, what's the output like, and at least this can help a lot of entrepreneurs to just take this information and build from it to build a business case and a business plan. Donc, ce que j'essaie de dire, c'est que vraiment cette idée d'information, on va la retrouver sur plusieurs niveaux de nos discussions. Et là encore, quand on regarde sur le financement des projets, quand tu vas à une banque, tu as besoin d'avoir d'informations de base pour pouvoir avoir un financement. Et si tu n'as pas les fonds pour pouvoir monter ton projet pilote toi-même tout seul, et après avoir le financement pour prouver que ta technologie fonctionne, l'idéal, en fait, ce serait que les institutions africaines, interafricaines puissent investir dans la recherche et du développement, pour qu'on puisse avoir des informations de base sur les différentes technologies. Par exemple, sur le solaire, pour le cas au Gabon, il n'y a pas d'études du tout sur le solaire. Donc, si je suis à l'estuaire, ou je suis à Franceville, ou je suis au nord du Gabon, je ne sais même pas c'est quoi la différence d'intensité du soleil, quel va être mon output si je prends cette technologie, ou pour le biogaz, quels sont les déchets qui sont les plus utilisés, quelle va être la production. Donc, tout ce type d'informations, ces informations qui sont nécessaires pour monter un business plan et après pour avoir du financement des banques. C'est pour ça aussi que ça crée un plus gros risque sur les startups qui veulent rentrer dans ce domaine, il faut qu'elles aient, et ça crée aussi une barrière à l'entrée en fait, parce qu'il faut qu'elles aient déjà des fonds pour pouvoir mener ces études elles-mêmes et après pouvoir intégrer ça à leur business plan.
Merci beaucoup pour cette intervention. Le long de nos discussions, il y a aussi nos auditeurs, c'est le mot que je cherchais, nos auditeurs qui ont laissé des questions dans l'onglet questions et réponses. Donc, je vais prendre quelques minutes pour lire certaines des questions et pouvoir y répondre également, pour qu'on puisse être un peu plus interactif avec eux. Donc, je vois, il y a Monsieur Janvier Mouchagalassou. He says, hello, everyone. I'm going to read it in French and then translate in English as well as the answer. Quelles sont les stratégies mises en œuvre par le CABEF pour inciter les jeunes à s'intéresser aux énergies renouvelables en Afrique centrale? So Mr. Mushagalusa, sorry, again if I'm butchering names, is saying what are the strategies that CABEF as an organization is putting in place to encourage young people to get interested in renewable energy in Central Africa. So one of the major projects of CABEF is called CAPS. It's a project of sub-regional cross-border project whose objective is to reduce energy poverty. This project advocates for the energy mix, which allows renewable energy such as solar and wind. CAPS is the pipeline project, which will cross several countries in Central Africa. And it is a project that is led by CABEF. So the French version, le projet CAPS est un projet sous-régional transfrontalier dont l'objectif est de réduire la pauvreté énergétique. C'est un projet qui prône l'énergie mixte permettant parmi lesquelles les énergies renouvelables telles que le solaire et l'éolien. Le projet CAPS est un projet de pipeline qui va traverser plusieurs pays d'Afrique centrale et c'est un projet qui est porté par le CABEF. Donc, au-delà des discussions, le CABEF est aussi dans l'action, bien évidemment, à travers ce projet CAPS qu'il souhaite implémenter dans toute la sous-région Afrique centrale. Une deuxième question avant qu'on ne puisse retourner à la conversation avec nos panélistes. Il y a Monsieur Honoré Modidé qui dit « Salut, je suis Honoré Modidé du Tchad, ingénieur en génie mécanique, cofondateur de Gaz Int Company, une start-up qui fait dans l'énergie avec un focus sur la sécurisation des cuisinières à gaz dans les ménages. Ma préoccupation porte sur la 4e édition du CABEF. Quelle est la place accordée aux jeunes dans ce forum? Car la 3e édition n'a pas pris les jeunes du début à la fin. Nous avons participé juste au Youth Town Hall. Je pense que la préoccupation de M. Honoré rejoint un peu à l'intervention que Johan avait fait un peu plus tôt, sur l'implication de la jeunesse dans les questions énergétiques. La réponse que le CABEF peut lui fournir, c'est que durant l'année, il y a tout le temps des panels, en fait. Il y a tout le temps des webinaires que le CABEF organise pour essayer d'impliquer les jeunes dans la discussion. Aussi, une chose à noter, lors du forum qui aura lieu au Gabon dans un mois en octobre, du 23 au 25 octobre, le forum du CABEF qui aura lieu au Gabon, l'entrée aux jeunes est complètement gratuite. Donc ça, c'est une manière d'encourager la participation des jeunes, de les inciter à s'impliquer et aussi à faire partie de la discussion autour de l'énergie en Afrique centrale. So, just for everyone to be on the same page, Honoré is asking how the CABEF is encouraging young people to be more active. Yeah, what is the place that CABEF is giving to the youth in the next forum? So I was saying that entry is free for young people for the next edition of the CABEF forum. And also throughout the year, CABEF organizes webinars like this one to be able to invite young people and get them involved in the discussion around energy in Africa.
Can I add to what you just said?
Oh, sorry, juste une correction apparemment. J'ai fait une légère erreur. Au CABEF 2024, l'entrée est gratuite uniquement pour le panel des jeunes et les ateliers. Donc, c'est pour les panels et les ateliers que l'entrée est gratuite pour les jeunes. Just a bit of a correction. It's for the panels and the entry is free for youth, only for the panels.
Okay.
Il y a Hassani qui
Oui, juste pour te compléter, parce que les deux questions, en fait, ce que CABEF est en train de faire à travers les webinaires mensuels et tout, et par rapport au projet CAP, c'est que CABEF est en train de construire un réseau pour impliquer tous ces différents jeunes dans ces différents pays. Donc, les webinaires qui sont en train de passer, c'est à chaque fois, on a toujours les mêmes questions. Ça dit CABEF cherche à savoir, identifier précisément nos difficultés, quelles sont les ressources que nous avons, les opportunités que nous avons différemment dans nos différents pays et comment est-ce qu'on peut interchanger avec ces différents réseaux qui se construisent dans chaque pays en fait. Donc, c'est très important. Il faudrait que tout le monde ait ça à l'esprit, même toutes les personnes qui sont en train de nous suivre, en fait. Donc, ces webinaires permettent maintenant d'échanger, de construire un réseau parce que même en étant au Tchad, on ne se connaît pas. Car on est en train de travailler dans le même domaine. Donc, grâce à CABEF et ces discussions, on peut maintenant se retrouver, créer ces réseaux et maintenant identifier nos véritables lacunes, connaître les opportunités que nous avons. Et c'est ce qui va permettre à CABEF maintenant comment procéder et inclure ces jeunes dans ce grand projet de CAPS pour l'Afrique centrale et l'Afrique, une partie de l'Afrique de l'Ouest. Merci.
Thank you, Asani. So she was talking about one of the really objectives of CABEF is to help us network with one another across borders, because beyond only the forum or the project CAPS, CABEF is also allowing us to build a network so that we can learn from each other across borders, across different areas of the industry, and we can also build our capacities and also learn from each other and also take advantage of each other's expertise so that we can rely on it to make advancements in our careers and also develop the energy sector in our own countries. On va avancer un petit peu avec...
I just want to add. Yeah, I just want to add because it's very important. C'est très important pour nous, ces questions, parce que si on regarde l'anglais des questions, ce sont les mêmes questions. Je pense qu'il y a une des panélistes, celle qui venait juste de parler, Madame Hassani. Elle a participé à l'événement l'année passée et aujourd'hui, elle est speaker pendant le webinaire. Donc, c'est un exemple palpable de l'engagement que le CABEF essaye de mettre en place pour les jeunes de la sous-région. Donc, je me souviens bien, l'année passée, elle était participante au Youth Talk et je pense qu'elle a aussi un peu participé aux différents panels. Donc, nous voulons vraiment impliquer et donner accès aux jeunes. Nous ne sommes juste pas là pour parler, but we are here to take action. Donc, elle est un exemple palpable et elle a aussi parlé des projets. Donc, c'est important. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Like Yohan just reminded us, CABEF is also a platform for people to evolve in the energy sector. As if you took as an example, Mrs. Asanie was part of the Youth Talk at the last forum in Jeunesse in 2023, and now she's part of the webinar, and she's also able to make progress on her different activities. So yeah, those are all ways in which CABEF as an organization can allow us to harness our potential and harness our knowledge and know-how and be able to make a difference in the energy sector in Central Africa. We're just going to take one last question for now for the Q&A for the different attendees. There's one more question from Zachary Katanga Mankunku. He's asking in French first and then I'll translate. Est-ce que le CABEF peut encore faciliter des contacts avec les entreprises intervenant dans l'énergie? Le besoin de mentorship, de mentorship dans le domaine de l'énergie est important. So Zachary is telling us that is it possible for CABEF to facilitate connections between companies and the youth in the industry, in the energy sector? There's a great need for mentorship in the energy sector. It's very important. So Zachary is asking us about mentorship. And the answer that the CABEF is able to provide is young people can take part in the forum, and they will also be able to interact with business leaders and politicians during networking sessions. So that's one of the reasons why it's really important to be active and also take part in the different forums and the webinars like this one, because it's an avenue, it's an opportunity to get to meet people that you might not meet in other day. People that are CEOs of companies or people that are industry leaders or government officials that take part in those activities like the forum. It would be an opportunity for any young person to be able to get in contact with them and also get them in their own personal networks. Donc, la réponse pour Zachary, c'est que les jeunes peuvent prendre part au forum et ils pourront échanger avec les chefs d'entreprise et les politiques lors des séances de networking. So, si vous voulez des opportunités de mentorat, il y a une opportunité pour vous d'avoir accès à ces personnes très occupées qui ont des agendas très chargés à travers les différentes activités comme le forum. Alors, sans plus tarder, je pense qu'on va revenir à nos questions pour pouvoir faire un peu de progrès. On est déjà à un peu plus de la moitié de notre session du webinaire. Ça passe très, très vite. Les interventions des uns et des autres sont très, très intéressantes. Donc, on ne voit pas trop le temps passer. Je vais juste rappeler aux personnes qui nous ont pris en cours de route qu'il y a l'onglet questions et réponses. Vous pouvez y laisser votre adresse email et l'équipe du CABEF sera en contact avec vous pour pouvoir vous communiquer à chaque fois qu'il y a une activité, toutes les actualités du CABEF, vous pourrez être à jour sur celle-ci. Et vous pouvez aussi aller sur le site web www.cabef2024.com pour pouvoir avoir plus d'informations sur le prochain forum du CABEF qui aura lieu à Libreville au Gabon du 23 au 25 octobre. So just a reminder for people that have taken part of the discussion along the way, you can go on the website www.cabef2024.com to get more information on the next CABEF forum that's going to take part in Gabon from the 23rd to the 25th of October. And you can also leave your email address on the Q&A onglet just at the bottom of your screen so that the CABEF team can get in touch with you and give you more information about their any news about the forum or any news about any activities that's coming up for the CABEF. Next question. What are recruiters in the energy sector looking for? I'm going to give this question to who hasn't spoken since we've been here. I think everybody has had a chance to speak. Precious, I think I'm going to give you this question. What are recruiters looking for in the energy sector in Africa?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Okay, the question is, what are recruiters in the energy sector looking for? In regards to the energy sector, what are some qualities or skills that make you competitive on the energy?
Okay, I think this question is also very important that has been asked now, because my involvement and my interest in the energy sector has highlighted, and also my professional career outside of the energy sector has highlighted that there is really a place for everybody and anybody. I'll give an example. I am a professional chemical engineer, and at first glance, it doesn't seem so related to the energy sector, but at the core of being a chemical engineer, you learn the process controls, the plant designs, you learn energy storage. All of this comes into play. If there's somebody who's trained in finance, there's need to, like, one of the major problems that maybe startup companies are facing is funding. So there's need for a finance professional to sort of create packages that are suitable and suited to the energy business in terms of specific turnaround times, specifics of the energy practice and that environment. When it comes to somebody who's a trained teacher or educator, like we are saying, there's need to tailor packages for the energy sector, but with the skill set of somebody who's a professional educator. I would give an example of somebody who's an advocate, somebody who's done social work, somebody who has people skills, a lawyer, somebody who's a politician. Like somebody mentioned earlier that one of the major issues we're having is in Africa, especially, that I've also seen through papers and some researches that have been done, is that the policies just do not align with favor to the energy sector. So I'll give an example of Zambia. Recently, we got some new green policies, which took out duty completely on electric vehicles. Some took out duty completely off of lithium-ion batteries and things like that. So there's need for an expert policymaker to tailor solutions for the energy sector, but they need to be a policymaker in the first place. So when it comes to the training, the skill set, anybody should be involved. Every skill is relevant. We can't just leave it to the engineers or to just the technocrats. This is a game for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Precious. And jumping from your intervention, I'm going to ask Mr. Yangari to speak more about the policies. What are the policies that are in place now that encourage youth entering into the energy sector in Africa? And what are policies that would be beneficial if they were to be implemented to be able to progress in Central Africa in the energy sector? So, Mr. Yangari, the question is for you.
Okay, thank you. So I think that a lot that's been done today, it's different governments. So what happened is that with the rise of oil and gas, at first, a lot of government has started putting in the contracts an obligation to train governments or to train the population. So there are training programs in a lot of these oil and gas contracts. So countries who have an oil and gas sector will see that there's a lot of training that would be available, but it's at a government stage. I think that a lot of initiatives right now are being put on the local content, so on how to develop local content in different countries. So we can see now more and more entrepreneurs who are able to gain an advantage compared to international companies on some contracts on the energy sector. But it's not enough, really. For me, I believe that it's not enough. There's as well in Gabon, there's some policies like the Gabonization of position, which was saying that only a certain percentage of people could be from international in the countries, in the jobs in the energy sector, but still there's a lack of training facilities. There's a lack of training facilities. There's a lack of bourse for youth, for students, for grants for students who want to operate in these sectors. And it's really like if you look at the case in Gabon, we had Veolia, which was a French company who was operating here for like 20 years, and they trained most of the energy. So it was a utility company in Gabon producing electricity, and they trained most of the engineers in Gabon who work in the electric sector because they had a training center in Gabon. And so they were able to train people and to give them bring them up to date. So today, though, what we see with governments is that not enough is being made, not enough steps are taken to put in place training centers for the youth and grants for them to be able as well to get from where they are towards the capital city and help students get into this school, because we have a real problem as well with the poverty, and youth poverty in Gabon for girls, young girls who have babies, and as well boys who have to support their families. So, which means that a lot of young Africans today, they have a choice they have to make between going to school or having trainings or having a day-to-day job so they can bring food in their houses. So that's why it's important to have grants. It's important to support this youth who wants to get into this sector and to make those training available to them. Donc, ce que je disais, c'est que aujourd'hui, quand on regarde en Afrique, il y avait beaucoup d'initiatives qui avaient été prises. Quand je regarde spécifiquement au Gabon, par exemple, sur le secteur de l'énergie et du pétrole, le secteur pétrolier, c'est dans les contrats pétroliers. Il y a des clauses qui disent que les sociétés pétrolières doivent mettre à disposition de l'argent pour les formations. Mais cet argent est beaucoup utilisé plutôt par le gouvernement pour former les fonctionnaires et pas assez des jeunes dans les pays. Et de même aussi, c'était par exemple au Gabon, c'était quand on avait la SEG avant était gérée par Veolia, ils avaient mis en place donc un centre de formation qui fonctionne très bien et qui a formé la majorité des jeunes des Gabonais qui sont dans le secteur de l'énergie. Mais donc, il manque des initiatives qui permettent de donner des bourses, en fait, des bourses aux jeunes qui veulent entrer dans ce secteur afin de pouvoir les aider de sortir de leur zone, de leur région et de pouvoir venir en ville et aller à ces centres de formation parce qu'il y a un problème aussi aujourd'hui chez les jeunes, c'est sur le problème de survie. Parce que beaucoup de jeunes aident leur famille à emmener de l'argent sur la table. Beaucoup de jeunes filles ont des enfants très tôt, donc après doivent s'occuper des enfants. Donc, s'il n'y a pas de bourse ou bien s'il n'y a pas d'aide à ces jeunes, c'est difficile pour eux de se dire qu'ils vont aller se faire former. En tout cas, cette opportunité est vraiment très difficile.
D'accord, merci beaucoup, Monsieur Yangari. Mr. Katiambo, I would like to hear from you also about the policies. What are the existing policies regarding the energy sector in Africa? And also, what are some policies that we might suggest? We don't know, maybe there are some policymakers or this conversation can get to them and inspire them to make some changes that would be more conducive to a better energy sector in Africa. So what are the policies that we might recommend to be put in place regarding ending energy poverty in Africa?
Yeah, from where I sit, I think we can pick some lessons, especially from Kenya and Rwanda, that we look at the energy sector as both a public service, public utility, but also as a private a sector that can be driven by the private sector, investors, entrepreneurship, innovation. And so putting in place policies, strong policies that support innovation, policies that encourage local assembly, local manufacturing, policies that give incentives for energy-related products. I'm happy that Precious have mentioned. I think Zambia is following what Kenya and Rwanda has done to give duty-free importation of solar products, lithium batteries, electric vehicles. I think even Ethiopia has given that kind of incentive. So policies that encourage business, policies that encourage what we call disruptive technologies are good for the energy sector, because the energy sector cannot be driven by the traditional government hand, where it's the government that is supplying electricity, it's the government that is in charge of setting up a mini grid and so on. So if we can open up this space, and I think that is the only way that then encourages a lot of what, as we have mentioned, if we are looking for grant and funding in direct investments, this is how money flows. The people see the opportunity, the people with money, that is the West, they see the opportunity, and then they'll start with a grant to support certain pilots, and then they'll bring in what we call catalytic or early stage investment, which is money that is half a grant, but also an investment, so that then it can push and try to scale and prove the concept that you're trying to do. Then it comes, then it's followed on now with real investment capital. So having policies that open up this space for private sector players, for innovators, for researchers, and removing the government from this a lot of these spaces, especially when it comes to renewable energy technologies. We are talking about solar, we are talking about electric mobility, we are talking about wind technologies, we are talking about bioenergy, biodiesel. If the government can step a little bit back and just allow the private sector, and innovation in the private sector is driven by young people. And so when we talk about the private sector, mostly we are talking about these young people who are ready to, who can imagine these things and create these products and create these new business models around these products and take them to the market. Yeah, so that's my opinion.
Thank you. So you've been talking about the importance of innovation. I'm just gonna give you this last question because you've mentioned this. What is the importance of, what is the role of innovation and technology in transforming the energy sector, and how young people can lead those efforts? You've been saying that innovation is led by young people. And we've talked previously about the need for training, the need for access to information, the need for access to opportunities. So how can young people be at the forefront of this transformation, at the forefront of innovation in our different contexts that we know are very challenging? Mr. Yangari mentioned the fact that we have realities that we have to deal with. Young people need to take care of their own families. Young people don't have access to education. They don't have access to resources. How can they be put at the forefront of innovation, given the condition and the realities that they have to be dealing with?
Thank you, Mahe, for that question. And innovation, I always say for people or for our society, for our young people to be innovative, we have to be deliberate about how we train them in schools. The education system has to emphasize on people being innovative. And it starts from when the young people are doing their experiments as youth in high school or in colleges. They need to be given the freedom to imagine, the freedom to think. And that kind of innovative minds being nurtured, well nurtured, then can transition into the energy sector with that ability to think, to come up with solutions, to conceptualize the problems and figure out the solutions, having looked at the problems. And also, this is also very closely tied to your previous question about policy, because sometimes we have seen, like the journey I've walked in Kenya and Rwanda and the countries like Malawi, is that we've seen that the country's regulations sometimes will stifle, they hold back innovation by asking for young people to have this license to do this and that license to do that and that authority to go to this government agency. So if we get all these things away from the energy sector, then the young people will be free to imagine and come up with these solutions and draw inspirations from the young people across the world. Of course, when I say we also have to be deliberate, our government should also not continue just telling us that they are poor. They need also to put in resources, they put in money. That is how the Western world has developed. There's money for research that is sent to research institutions and universities, but there's money for just developing innovations that is sent directly to young innovators through innovation hubs, through universities, through just youth organizations. Youth organize themselves and they come up with a certain concept, a business model. We have designed this new solar system that can power farms, and then this is how we want to take it to the market through women groups or through youth groups. So we need funding. So governments also have to be deliberate to put in money in this, because this, as I mentioned, this cannot start with the private sector. The private sector can only come in, the investors can only come in when they see potential, when they see that these innovations, these products are actually solving an actual problem, and they can generate revenues and a return on investment.
Thank you so much, Mr. Katiambo. I'm going to be asking the same question to Mrs. Netsaid. What are ways that we can harvest innovation amongst our youth? How can we get youth to innovate? How can we make that innovation be productive in the energy sector in Africa? Mrs. Netzanet, sorry, the question is for you.
Repeat the question. I couldn't hear you very well.
The question is regarding innovation. What is the role of innovation and technology in transforming the energy sector, and how can young Africans lead those efforts? How can our governments, how can organizations like CABEF, or how can each and every one of us as individuals contribute to the fact to encouraging young Africans to innovate and contribute in the energy sector?
How can we encourage young people to innovate, like to come up with innovative ideas or innovative things in the energy sector? So
yes,
my answer would be, first, like we need to support them, identify what are the challenges for the youth to come up with the innovative ideas in the energy sector. After identifying those gaps, we need to support them on the gaps. Maybe it can be like financial support, it can be like rewarding. For example, if they come up with some innovative ideas, if we award them with some financial or some like in-kind contributions, they will be encouraged and they will go for like extra, like they will come up with another innovative idea, and they can improve the innovative idea so that they can be part of the energy transition and they can contribute. So you need our support in financial things as well as policy, and also anything that can encourage them so that they can continue innovating and contribute to the African energy sector with innovative ideas and technology. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm now going to be asking Mrs. Precious, how can policymakers make sure that they, sorry, I'm starting over. What strategies can policymakers employ to ensure inclusivity in the energy sector, especially to include the participation of young women and marginalized groups? So how can policymakers and different deciders make sure that not only youth is represented, but also other marginalized groups like women, for example? Okay, so sorry, I just realized that I was muted. I was asking the question for Precious. How can, what strategies can policymakers employ to ensure inclusivity in the energy sector, especially to include the participation of young women and marginalized groups? So how can the policymakers and deciders make sure that not only the youth is implicated in the energy transition of the continent, but especially young women and other marginalized groups? How can we make sure that they're also part of the adventure and on this ride that we are taking as CABEF and as youth in the energy sector? The question is for Mrs. Precious. Is Precious still with us? Okay, I don't see her anymore. Okay,
she's not there.
She's not there. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, but allow me to just mention something about energy and inclusivity, and it actually also touches on what Precious had mentioned, that most of the young people that we are talking about in this energy sector who bear the biggest brand of problems of lack of energy access in the rural areas. But actually, the biggest percentage, especially from where I sit, is the young women, because from where in Kenya the experience has been, young men, immediately they finish high school or college, they always move to the nearest city to look for a job. And so that means then, they have access to the basic, lighting and energy needs. But then young women in Kenya, the experience is that most of them will delay in the village because they cannot move to the city at a very young age. They risk, being misused. They can't do the manual jobs that most young men will do. So they'll spend more time in the village, which means more exposure to the energy poverty. And so in our journey, talking to young innovators and entrepreneurs in the energy sector, we are asking them to be responsive to the needs of young women, so that then as we design products that can easily be used by young women and women, basically women and children in the home, so that even without the men in the homes in the rural areas, the young women are comfortable with them. And also products that where, say, the repair and maintenance is friendly to young women and children in those communities.
Thank you so much for your answer, Mr. Katiambo. I think you were speaking more of inclusivity as it pertains to end users. But
yes.
I'm thinking about the whole process from the start, from getting more women to be engineers, to getting more women to be deciders, getting more women to be policymakers, getting more women to be involved all along the chain of energy transformation. How can we pretend to make that happen?
Yeah, sorry, I'll just probably elaborate on that. Yeah, I was giving what we call a bottom-up approach, where we design the product with the young women in mind, but then the ability of those women to operate these products, the ability for them to repair them and to even become salesmen, provides them with an opportunity to grow up the ladder and develop interest in a career in the clean energy sector. So for me, it starts with especially where we are right now. Where we are is that we have entrepreneurs, we have businesses that are designing products that are taking to the market. We have businesses that are engaging with these communities. So if these businesses engage with these communities with an inclusive and agenda responsive strategy, which includes the product design, the way the product is delivered, the business model, and the interaction between the business and the communities, will draw more women and create a more inclusive energy transition.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this answer. And thus we are finishing with our question portion of this webinar. We have about 15 minutes left if we are planning on staying on schedule. We're going to be moving on to the case study portion of our webinar today. I'm going to give you different scenarios, and our panelists, I'm going to invite you to react about these scenarios if you have experiences in those different scenarios that I'm going to offer. If you have contribution, do not hesitate to share them with the panel and the rest of the audience. So, je disais, on vient de finir avec la portion de questions et réponses de notre panel. Il nous reste à peu près 15 minutes. On va passer à la portion étude, là où nous allons parler de différents scénarios et nos panélistes vont partager avec nous leurs expériences et aussi leur connaissance par rapport à ces différents scénarios qui seront offerts. Je vois qu'il y a une question, je ne sais pas si c'est dans le chat. On me demande si c'est possible de traduire au fur et à mesure. Malheureusement, étant donné qu'on a que 2 heures de temps, c'est un peu difficile si je dois revenir sur chacune des interventions pour traduire au fur et à mesure. Je pense que la conversation va être assez lourde, en fait. Donc, je demande votre indulgence. Je demande qu'on soit un peu patient pour essayer de se comprendre. J'essaie de faire le maximum pour avoir le gist des interventions des uns et des autres pour qu'on puisse suivre ensemble la conversation. Donc, pour entrer dans les différents scénarios, je vais commencer en français, tiens, comme ça. Les francophones se sentiront peut-être un peu moins lésés. Je vais poser la question à Monsieur Yangari. Qu'est-ce qui vous a inspiré d'entrer dans le secteur de l'énergie? Quelle était l'expérience qui vous a poussé à vous projeter dans ce secteur et à être un acteur de ce secteur aujourd'hui?
Donc,
Monsieur.
oui, j'ai commencé dans le secteur pétrolier. Donc, moi, je suis un économiste. Donc, je fais le développement de projets. Donc, en mettant en place les plans de développement de projets pétroliers, je me suis rendu compte à partir d'un moment donné, en fait, qu'on ne comptabilisait que la ressource pétrolière. Et le torchage de gaz n'était pas valorisé sur les champs au Gabon, en fait. Et donc, à partir d'un moment donné, ça m'a vraiment commencé à trotter dans ma tête, et j'ai commencé à pousser au Gabon, en fait, à pousser au sein du ministère, au sein de la société nationale, pour que le sujet gaz soit mis sur la table et qu'on puisse regarder qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire, en fait, de ces ressources gazières. Et le plus simple, en fait, pour la valorisation du gaz, c'est l'énergie. C'est le gas to power, en fait. Donc, c'est comme ça que je suis rentré dans le secteur de l'énergie, en développant, en fait, un projet d'abord pour la Société nationale de valorisation des ressources gazières que la Société nationale est en train de torcher. Et ensuite, pour la République gabonaise, donc j'ai fait ce même travail avec tous les opérateurs gabonais. Donc, j'étais en charge de la task force stratégie gazière pour la présidence de la République. Et donc, c'est comme ça que, après plusieurs échanges et des workshops qu'on a fait, on a défini une stratégie dans laquelle, pour le gaz, en fait, l'opportunité première pour le gaz au Gabon était l'électricité. Et donc, c'est comme ça que je suis rentré dans ce secteur et je travaille depuis maintenant surtout à booster donc, les projets gas to power, donc vraiment toutes les poches de gaz torché, essayer de voir bon, qu'est-ce qu'on peut en faire, travailler avec des entreprises, avec la société d'électricité pour voir comment on peut emmener ce gaz selon les différentes zones où ce gaz est torché, comment on peut l'emmener plus proche en fait des populations et donc le produire. Je suis aussi donc, et donc dans ce cheminement, après avoir fait donc cette intervention, j'ai aussi été beaucoup appelé donc à l'Afrique. J'ai intervenu à l'Africa Week sur ce sujet de la transition énergétique et surtout de la valorisation des ressources gazières, aussi en Angleterre, aussi dans certaines conférences. Donc en fait, c'est vraiment c'est le gaspillage. Et quand on met à côté, quand on voit le déficit énergétique qu'a l'Afrique et qu'à côté de ça, on regarde le gaspillage qu'il y a dans le secteur de l'hydrocarbure, ça m'a vraiment donné un engouement et c'est pour ça que je me suis vraiment mis sur le sujet. Et donc, c'est ce que je fais maintenant. Je travaille sur ça. Et c'est un sujet qui est vrai, pas que pour le Gabon, hein, c'est vrai vraiment pour toute l'Afrique entière, en fait. Parce que aujourd'hui, on pense, le pétrole, qu'est-ce qu'on pensait? C'était l'exportation directe. On produit du pétrole, on l'exporte, après on importe des produits finis. Le gaz, aujourd'hui, c'est, on a du gaz, on fait du LNG, on exporte. Entre-temps, le gaz peut être utilisé en Afrique. Je vois que CABEF aussi a une initiative de mettre une pipeline pour relier beaucoup de pays, les pays en Afrique centrale. Et ça, c'est des initiatives qui, après, peuvent permettre de développer le secteur énergétique. Parce qu'une ressource qui est brûlée, c'est comme de la poubelle, en fait. Donc, cette ressource, tu peux l'avoir à un coût moindre et ça te permet donc de pouvoir développer des projets énergétiques et d'arriver à un coût de l'énergie qui est compétitif, en fait, et qui permet le développement de l'électricité pour les zones rurales et des off-grid, en fait.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur. Pardon?
Je voulais que je fasse la traduction en anglais ou bien ça va?
Oui, vous pouvez faire la traduction. Je pense à tout ça la même page.
So, how did I get into energy? So I was working in oil and gas for a decade and working on field development plans. And after working on a couple of field development plans, I realized that the only resource that was monetized was the oil, and the gas was just flared, so just going to waste. So the idea was, why, since in Gabon we still lack energy, we need energy, even though we are 80% of energy penetration, but still there's still a lack of energy in a lot of rural zones, off-grid zones. So the idea was, why are we wasting this resource when we need some resource to produce electricity? And gas oil, as you know, is imported, so it's very expensive to just have thermal power plant that will be using gas oil. So that's how I started pushing in Gabon for the gas flaring reduction initiative for the National Oil Company, for the Ministry of Oil and Gas. And I was able to start to be the project manager for the Gabon Gas Task Force from the presidency. And this is where I was able to redevelop the strategy for Gabon on how to develop gas to power. So to use flared gas for powering to power Gabon. And from there, I've been working on a couple of projects in Gabon to try and identify the source of flare gas and link them to the needs of energy, and developing flare gas to power projects in Gabon.
Thank you so much. I'm now going to Mrs. Netsanet to tell us a bit more about the inclusion of marginalized people in the energy sector, and then she can tell us how she got involved in the energy sector.
Thank you so much, Mari. So, as a woman working in the energy sector and also working in the Ethiopian Women Energy Network, which empowers, which works to empower women in the energy sector, either in the supply side, also in the demand side. So, for example, if I tell you about our experience in the Ethiopian Women Energy Network to push the inclusion of women in the Ethiopian energy sectors, whether government or non-governmental sectors, or where energy provision or demand side companies. So what we do is we advocate for inclusion of women, like to be hired in the government sector, like to improve the entrance exams or give them some what is called these affirmative actions, so that they can include more women, and also to capacitate women to push into like higher positions, and also to work in the technical works. For example, like even though they are engineers in the companies, they are not provided the technical jobs, because there is a stereotyping that women cannot do this hard skill work. So we push the like giving trainings to mainstream gender in the energy companies, and also we push with these government and non-governmental companies to hire women through different workshops and incubation programs, even also in the women entrepreneurs sector, so that they can encourage women to come into the energy sector, business ownership, and also providing different training opportunities in collaboration with some non-governmental organizations, some financial organizations, and also governmental organizations, so that they can empower women in the energy sector, as well as we go and also encourage students to join the STEAM sector by showing successful women in Ethiopia and Africa who are making it in the higher positions in the energy sector and which are successful. There is also some program which is called Influential Women Award, Influential Women in the Energy Sector Award every year, which showcases women's contribution to the Ethiopian energy sector, what they did. For example, it could be in the academic section, or maybe some of the engineers, electrical or other engineers in the energy sector, which made their PhD through passing through all these challenges, and also entrepreneurs in the energy sector who made up like at the top level, regardless of those challenges. So we do this. And also for, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So, and also in the demand side, what, for example, what we did in my last job as a project manager, providing energy for rural community in Ethiopia, for example, our target beneficiaries were micro and small enterprises, people who are working in some businesses to access to the electricity, but unfortunately, many women are not in the business. So what we did is we provided some incentives to women. For example, if you join to access this electricity or solar photovoltaic solution, so we'll give you some extra items so that you can start your businesses, and we could increase the number of women in the demand side also. So we can use these experiences so that we can increase women in the demand side as well as in the supply side and in the support side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Netzanet. I'm now going to be reading a few of the questions from the Q&A box and providing also answers on behalf of CABEF. So, Alicia Emenga nous demande quelles sont les initiatives mises en place par le CABEF dans le cadre de la formation des jeunes africains dans le domaine de l'énergie. Le CABEF propose-t-il des bourses d'études dans le secteur énergie en Afrique et au Gabon précisément? Alors, le CABEF a un projet qui s'appelle le CABEF Youth Project, qui a deux composantes qui sont le Youth Space et le Youth Talk. Donc, c'est des événements qui ont lieu en parallèle, qui nous permettent de récolter des informations de la jeunesse et des potentiels partenaires pour aider à faire face aux challenges de la jeunesse dans le secteur de l'énergie. Donc, c'est des nouveaux projets qui viennent d'être implémentés par le CABEF et le but est de créer une plateforme qui peut aider à la jeunesse à intégrer le secteur de l'énergie en Afrique centrale en particulier. Donc, je viens de nommer deux exemples d'initiatives qui ont été créées par le CABEF pour répondre à la question de l'implication de la jeunesse dans le secteur de l'énergie. Une deuxième question de la part de Sayak Aymirish Freddy. He says, great encouragement to CABEF. Is it possible for the CABEF to put in place in each country a commission during youth activities in secondary and high school to create a debate on youth in energy so as to show them the way, because even in our schools, we have genius having projects. Okay, Sayak. So this is an initiative that has been started by CABEF in Chad and Equatorial Guinea. We are just starting out, but the goal is to be a platform that can help young people in the energy sector throughout Africa. The idea is for each country where we implement the youth CABEF, we have a group of youngsters that would take part. In Chad and Equatorial Guinea, where the first two groups of youngsters this year will be from Gabon, and so on. It is better to build this group bit by bit, and with a solid ground. This CABEF group should be the ones to encourage this kind of activities in high school and in countries. So as I was saying, CABEF has the groups that represent itself in the different countries of the sub-region, and those groups are going to be in charge with all the activities regarding the schools and high schools and all of that in the different countries. So thank you once again for your questions. We are almost at the end. I think we can be there for a few more minutes and then we're going to end our webinar. Je vois qu'il y a une autre question de la part des participants. Il y a Velvita Viban. She says, he or she, I'm sorry, I don't know. Are there any activities ahead of CABEF that can mobilize education, institution, and get more youth involved in the energy sector from a pedagogical standpoint? Also, I may have missed it, but what are some activities, initiatives that involve working even at grassroots level to bridge the access gap to the energy sector, even for vulnerable groups? And are there transition models in place to help young people transition smoothly into the sector? So thank you, Velvita, for the question. For the moment, we are at a design level, gathering and identifying information in order to design efficient and effective activities. So that's the answer that was provided for Velvita's question. Juste pour faire une courte traduction, Velvita nous demandait s'il y a une manière de mobiliser les institutions, surtout en regard à l'éducation, pour avoir la jeunesse, encore une fois, un peu plus impliquée dans le secteur de l'énergie et que ça fasse partie de leur programme d'études, en fait. Et le CABEF est en ce moment encore au niveau du design de ce genre de programme. Il n'y en a aucun qui est implémenté pour le moment, mais c'est une avenue qui est en cours d'exploration pour des projets dans le futur plus ou moins proche. Donc, merci encore une fois pour vos différentes questions. Je vais faire un tour de table. On est déjà à l'heure de la fin programmée de notre webinaire, mais je vais demander à chacun des panélistes, s'il peut nous donner un mot de fin, et ensuite on va clôturer ensemble notre webinaire. Donc, Netzanet, being that you already had the floor, I'm gonna allow you a few minutes to give your ending remarks, and then we're going to go to the other panelists and close our webinar. Thank you.
Which question you asked me? Just to summarize, or what?
Yes, I'm asking you to make your closing remarks, and then we're going to be closing the webinar soon.
First of all, again, I want to thank CABEF for this platform so that we can share our experience and to get the opportunity to meet young people in the energy sector. All the panels and was a great session. I have learned a lot from the panels and also the questions that was raised here. Looking forward to work with CABEF and other attendees here so that we can bring a change in the African energy sector and just transition to renewable energy in Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Netzanet. I'm now going to give the floor to Mr. Katiambo. You can give us your closing remarks, and thank you for your participation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mahi. Thank you all the participants who are still on this call. 2 hours is a lot of time listening to us talking about this topic. Yeah, I'll start with an incident that happened several months ago in one of my work engagements where we had a grant, an investor who was looking for a project to support in clean energy, and we got a very good project from Brazzaville. And then it just happened when now I was pushing, and because it's very innovative, very exciting project, I was told, no, we actually wanted someone in the Congo DRC, not really Congo Brazzaville. And the point here is that Africa, we need to be more integrated. In Europe, and if someone in Austria and the other one in Italy and Spain, they have no difference in terms of how they do business. But in Africa, we are not so integrated, and this lack of integration from policy to local level denies us so many opportunities. And I'm happy that organizations like CABEF are doing this by inviting some of us who are outside the Central African region to talk about this. Thank you so much. And just to say that the opportunities in the clean energy sector, they are immense and it's growing. But then as African youth needs to really improve on their deliberate efforts to get training, get this access to information, look for this information. And we also ask for our governments and institutions to create supportive environments. And as I said, more integration as Africans, the more we come together as Africa, the more we can explore these opportunities and benefit from them as a whole African youth body. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Katiambo. We are now going to go to Mr. Yangari for his closing remarks.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. So I'm very happy of this seminar. It was very interesting to be able to exchange on this very crucial topic. I think that what we really need to take out of it is trying to find means to be able to have more information on our sector and on the opportunity for our sector for the youth. Maybe as well financing some research on best practices on the different energy solutions. So as we said, on the solar, on the hydro, on the biogas, on all of these sections, and this will help a lot the youth to be able to understand really that they can make a difference, because as was said, innovation comes from youth, so they need to know that there is this opportunity for them, so they can be more interested in this field.
Thank you so much. Je vais donner la parole maintenant à Monsieur Idriss Mamat pour nous donner son mot de fin.
Merci beaucoup. Donc, je vous remercie pour cette opportunité d'avoir partagé avec vous ce moment-là. C'était très enrichissant. J'espère que dans le prochain webinaire, il y aura plus de participants à pouvoir gagner plus d'informations et faire le nécessaire, et on va avancer dans ce lancé, Inch'Allah.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Mamat. Mrs. Precious Chikekwa.
Yes, good evening again. I would like to thank CABEF for this opportunity once more. And I think it's been a great platform to just hear from different people, different countries. And while we are a region, we have a lot of similarities. It's very obvious in challenges in our policies. And most of our countries are fairly new and young after independence. So a lot of the policies are still developing. A lot of the outreach is very similar. I can see, even though Gabon is all the way there, I can see similarities with Zambia. So at the same time, CABEF, I think, provides a platform for a lot more to be showcased. And while this webinar might not be enough to showcase what and just shine a light on what some youth-led organizations, some women-led organizations are doing, I think we need more and more of such programs. At the same time, we need to learn from maybe other sectors, such as the health sector, in the way they have been aggressive in pushing their agenda. So as frontliners in the energy sector, we need to be as aggressive as, say, the AIDS campaign or whatever, you name it, to just make sure that we catch up with our energy practices, our sustainable energy practices, sustainable manufacturing, sustainable household cooking, you name it. We need to catch up, and it needs to be aggressive, starting from the youth, starting from our region as Central Africa, as well as our shared beliefs, our shared policies. I think it's a great platform. At the same time, we need to do a lot more work and be more aggressive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Madame Hassani, je vous laisse aussi l'opportunité de donner votre mot de fin.
Ok, je remercie CABEF pour cette opportunité de plus pour pouvoir nous exprimer et relater nos défis, nos challenges. Ce que je retiens de ce webinaire et que j'aimerais que tout le monde retienne, c'est que l'innovation ne demande pas grand-chose, en fait. Innover, c'est aussi mettre sur place pour venir changer le quotidien d'une personne. Donc, d'essayer de regarder comment est-ce qu'on peut améliorer les conditions de vie, parce que nous sommes tous sans ignorer que, surtout en Afrique centrale, il y a de nombreuses personnes dans des ménages, surtout dans des milieux ruraux, qui n'ont pas accès à l'électricité. Ils n'ont pas tout simplement accès à l'électricité ni à une électricité fiable. Donc, de regarder comment est-ce qu'on peut implémenter ces grands projets qu'on regarde ailleurs, juste à leur échelle, en fait, dans le contexte, et voir ce qu'il y a de disponible. Donc, de leur apporter ce petit plus, et c'est comme ça qu'on pourra les intégrer et les amener à voir ce que ça fait dans leur vie, au lieu de passer toute la journée à chercher du bois pour ne pas faire une activité économique, pour ne pas pouvoir aller étudier parce qu'il n'y a pas de lumière. Si on leur apporte déjà ce plus, ça leur permet maintenant de s'intéresser, mais comment est-ce qu'on a fait dans ça? Donc, encourager vraiment notre gouvernement à mettre en place des politiques favorables pour permettre à ce qu'on puisse mettre en place les petits systèmes hors réseau, les smart off-grid systems, et surtout dans le système éducatif, implémenter le secteur des énergies renouvelables pour que les jeunes soient imprégnés de cette nouvelle, métier, ce nouveau métier, et qu'ils apprennent ce que c'est vraiment, et qu'on puisse faire aussi le renforcement des capacités avec nos structures existantes, nos personnels qui sont là, parce que c'est nouveau, comme Maîtrise l'a souligné tout à l'heure. Tout le monde se met à installer des panneaux sans savoir comment ça marche, comment ça fonctionne. Donc, il faut vraiment qu'on travaille le renforcement des capacités. Et nous, les jeunes, devons vraiment construire ce réseau-là. Donc, partout où on est, de construire ce réseau et de discuter et de ne pas seulement attendre CABEF, mais qu'on le fasse. Et quand CABEF vient vers nous, on a vraiment une plateforme qui est là et qu'on débatte des trucs vraiment, qu'on leur donne vraiment nos défis, qu'on leur dise les problèmes que nous rencontrons, parce qu'eux, ils peuvent porter nos voix plus loin. Donc, en grosso modo, voilà pour moi, et merci beaucoup à tous les panélistes et à tous les participants.
Merci beaucoup. Ainsi, sur ces mots, on va achever notre webinaire Youth in Energy du CABEF. Je tiens personnellement à remercier toute l'équipe du CABEF, chacun des panélistes et chacun des participants. Plus de 2 heures de discussion, ce n'est pas rien. Merci d'avoir pris de votre temps et de nous avoir partagé vos expériences, vos connaissances, et d'avoir animé ensemble cette discussion. Je vous dis à très bientôt pour une autre conversation avec le CABEF. Et également, n'oubliez pas que cette conversation, ce webinaire sera partagé en replay sur toutes les pages du CABEF, sur LinkedIn, sur Facebook. Donc, je vous invite à aller vous abonner, nous rejoindre sur ces pages. Et aussi que le prochain forum du CABEF, comme je l'ai dit un peu plus tôt, aura lieu du 23 au 25 octobre à Libreville, au Gabon. Donc, vous pouvez aller sur le site du CABEF pour vous inscrire, pour participer à cet événement, à ne pas manquer. Donc, merci encore une fois. Thank you, everyone, our panelists, our attendees. Thank you for the CABEF team for organizing this great conversation. I hope that every single one of us has taken something out of this conversation and also is satisfied with the contribution that they were able to make into this discussion. Thank you, everyone. And let's talk another time with the CABEF regarding energy in Central Africa. invite you to go and on our different social network platforms, and you can get a replay of this discussion, and also like the different pages, so that you can be in touch with every single event that CABEF is planning in the coming days and weeks. And also the next forum will be taking place, as I said before, from the 23rd to the 25th of October in Libreville et Lyon. So I also invite you to go to the website and also register for that. And once again, thank you. And our webinar is now finished, and thank you everyone, and see you at the next CABEF event. Bye.